Long-range weapons, armor upgrades for Abrams and Leopards, artificial intelligence technologies, and drones, all kinds of drones. All of this was created by Ukrainian developers and engineers. Want to know how these weapons help eliminate the enemy? Watch today's episode about Ukraine's top-secret breakthroughs.
I'm Audrey McAlpine with United 24 Media, and right now we're on our way to look inside of a Ukrainian bomb factory. Now, this factory is led by a gentleman named Ivanich, and he's the head of the 3rd Regiment. The 3rd Regiment is a special operations group within the Ukrainian Armed Forces. This is the first time that he's ever spoken with press. He'll be meeting with us today and giving us an exclusive look inside of this factory.
We're
creating ammo trucks that work on the front line, reassembling old weapons and engineering new solutions. The range of ammunition we get is massive. Anything and everything. Take a javelin or NLAW from the front lines. Maybe hit by shrapnel but still intact inside. That explosive can power an FPV drone or be dropped on someone. Or take a grenade, add a counterweight or a tail, and now it's ready for aerial drops. Everything, what you know, and even what you don't, can be turned into a weapon. You just have to get creative. The main thing is safety. We're working with explosives. Anything can happen. Every bullet has a name on it. Whether it's for the Russians or for us here in the factory, you have to be a master of your craft.
I've got to be honest, the atmosphere in here is quite tense. You walk around and there are enough explosives to do some serious damage. Earlier we were walking and they showed us just a table of household objects. Each one of them was booby-trapped with different munitions. And even just now walking, you definitely want to be very sure of where your next step is. Necessity is the mother of invention. And in Ukraine, there's no luxury of endless supplies.
We can't afford to throw away ammunition like the US. In Ukraine, nothing goes to waste. Everything is used. Absolutely everything. We're not as rich as America. Sure, there's some brand new ammo, but it's rare, very rare. We can make better ammo for this war than the US, Israel, or the UK if we had the money. We've built weapons before, and we've done it well. But now, with no budget, we're left with nothing. Everyone's waiting for an American miracle or some foreign savior, but the truth is, we could do it better ourselves. Invest in production, and you'll see the results. Before the war, I was a businessman. But when it started in 2014, I joined because it threatened my family. And I'll never forgive the Russians for that. If you have a family and kids and can't protect them, then why the fuck were you born? Russia thinks they can come here and tell me what to do. But they're wrong. They claim to be strong and powerful. It's bullshit. They will be beaten. If we'd been better prepared, maybe this wouldn't have happened. In the past, we were distracted. But now, we're focused. Technology is Ukraine's path to victory. We shouldn't fight meat for meat. We don't need to let technology do the fighting for us. Drones in the air, drones on the ground. People need to sit down and figure this out. We have bright minds and successful startups. It's time to put them to work.
Many U.S. weapons sent to Ukraine are defunct, some dating back to the 1950s. Instead of risking lives with battlefield trials, ammo is being repurposed to fit Ukraine's needs on an ever-changing battlefield, where new technology, like drones, is replacing classical artillery. From our talks with Ivanich today, it's clear that though the West is sending a lot of weapons, they're not always the weapons that Ukraine needs, whether that's because they're defunct or they're just not packaged in a proper way. And that couldn't have been more clear, this contrast between old and new, which has come to define the war. And that was seen just where you see guys opening up these explosives, taking the parts that they need and repurposing them, using drones, using robots. And I think that, again, what Ukraine is doing is it's really teaching the West and the world what it looks like to fight a modern war.
Today, we'll show you something very special. Our magnificent Luty UAVs that are deep striking Russian soil.
So, as the commander says, these are long-range deep strike drones produced here in Ukraine, used by the 14th Polk, Deep Strike Polk, to attack targets deep inside the Russian Federation. Today we've been granted exclusive access with the unit. They will tell us all about these drones, how they use them, and then hopefully we will see them in action. Enjoy our report.
The Luty Deep Strike UAV, Ukrainian production, range 1,000+ kilometers, speed 250 to 300 kilometers per hour. Payload between 50 and 75 kilograms. Guided by an artificial intelligence system, cost around $200,000.
Why is deep striking into Russian territory so important?
We understand that we're facing a mighty opponent. Russia has lots and lots of missiles and drones. We have to strike asymmetrically so that the enemy does not just hit our soil unpunished. That if we hit a key logistic hub, for example, or burn down an ammo storage, our guys at the front line will fare much better. They won't get the same amount of guided aerial bombs, missiles, etc. dropped on them anymore. The enemy won't be able to refuel as efficiently as before. It will affect the battlefield.
Then it's time to head out. Preparation, launching location, all top secret. We're only allowed to turn the camera back on when everything is set up on the runway.
All right, now we're on the field, not in the hangar. The drones have their wings on. They're quite big. As you can see, also quite tall. I'm about 6 foot. This is just to give you an idea about the size. They're also quite wide, and it's quite cold. You can see the frost covering the wings. Exciting. I don't know how many drones they have lined up here. I didn't count. I think it's like 15, and they will launch them one after the next, of course, as fast as possible for safety reasons. And they say the whole thing takes about 40 minutes to an hour if all the conditions are fulfilled. If there's an air alarm and we have to turn on electronic warfare systems, or our air defense starts working, then obviously they can't do it, because then Ukraine would shoot down its own drones, which is obviously something they're trying to avoid. So let's see how this night goes. The guys who met us here are not unfriendly, it's the wrong word, but you can feel there's a bit of tension in the air, and it's super understandable. I would also be stressed if someone's coming to film at me. Why? Because this is a super sensitive operation. I mean, this is a super high value target for the Russians. It's a huge problem for them, these drones and these deep strikes. It costs them a lot of money, and we have to work as clean as possible also, because if we show something we're not supposed to show, or some frame that shouldn't be in there, in the end there will be a price to pay, and someone's head will roll, probably mine or yours, Yegor, with the camera. So yeah, it's also a day to be concentrated at work. It's not actually funny at all. So we'll do our best.
While the men make the last adjustments, Casper takes care of public relations.
It's quite common in Ukraine before these missions to say a couple of words, to dedicate them and to cause awareness like that. In this case,
I wish you strong health. Mr. President, allow me to report. Today, we're grinding the Russian territory to dust. We will be destroying their storage facilities and military infrastructure to help our boys on the front lines. Honor, we have. The 14th Separate Regiment is operational.
and I will do the official signing. This cooperation, it is from the 14th Polk and United 24 Media. With love.
Of course.
Always, only love.
Це наш слоган.
Well, good luck today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Finally, it's time for takeoff. The start is manual. Once it's in the air, the drone switches to autopilot. Then the men can only wait and hope. In a couple of hours, it will have reached its target.
So as we said before, the guys drive behind the drone and then they launch it manually with the controller because it's more efficient that way. But it's also, while at the same time it's kind of futuristic warfare, it's pretty rough and old school because it's just a civilian car, an automobile, and they drive at high speeds behind this drone, which is carrying 50 kilograms of explosive, and that's it's a pretty risky thing to do. You can see when it starts to move, it's super sensitive to any change in the ground. It really wobbles and goes back and forth.
I'll say it like this. It gives you immense pleasure to witness a team of professionals at work. Our boys are simply the best. The 14th Separate Regiment is ready to fuck the bastards up.
Tonight we are working in the north of Ukraine. This is a direction where Russian Shaheeds enter in Ukrainian airspace, and we are working with the air defense unit. The guys are testing a new system that can be best described as the old school meets new technology.
Meet Sky Sentinel. For now, it's a prototype that will soon be integrated into the Ukrainian air defense system. It is an AI-powered turret equipped with a heavy machine gun and capable of 360 degrees rotation. Its primary targets are Shahed drones, but it also can destroy objects twice smaller in size, as well as cruise missiles. 10 to 30 such turrets will be able to cover a city, and fewer can protect objects such as electricity and heat plants, factories, and so on. Given Russia's daily air raids, having systems like this is crucial for civilian safety. How active is everything flying around here now?
Right now?
For the past month?
It's gotten more intense. In general, there's been a lot more of them in recent months. I remember in 2022, 2023, it was still very different back then.
We didn't have to wait for too long to hear, at least hear the first Shahed drones. We hear one buzzing just right over there. And I don't know how high it is, but probably if it's within our range, we might be able to shoot it down, so let's see.
First, I have to track the target until it's within my range. And then I lock it. To open the fire, these two tumblers must be switched on. And that's it. I'll wait for the target to approach, and then the turret computer itself takes into account the height and other data already calculated by the rangefinder. Then, when everything is calculated, I will see a sign indicating that the fire is authorized, and then it starts shooting.
For now, the operator has to track the target. However, the new version will be able to do it automatically and remotely, making the personnel job easier. Each such turret costs $150,000, making a cost-efficient tool in the fight against Russian drones.
Even though it's a prototype, we already can see the results.
Sky Sentinel is already shooting down Russian drones. The team is now preparing to launch a new update and soon will be transitioning to the mass production.
Today we were granted a very special access to this secret facility that on the first glance is doing some ordinary metalworks, but in fact they are saving Ukrainian soldiers' lives.
We are in a mechanical workshop where we manufacture anti-drone protection. Initially, we worked from blueprints, then proceeded with frame production. Over time, we made some modifications to the designs as we gained more experience. The soldiers provided feedback on how to make the protection more practical and reliable. These two factors, reliability and practicality, are our top priorities. My name is Andriy, and I'm in charge of relations with the Armed Forces of Ukraine at Steel Front, Medinvest's project. For 2 years now, we've been developing anti-drone protection structures for both Soviet and Western military vehicles. So far, we've produced around 300 armor kits. At first, we focused on armored vehicles, starting with the M1A2 Abrams, followed by Soviet T-72s and T-64s. We've also worked on Leopard tanks, specifically A4, A5, and A6 mods. Our projects have included infantry fighting vehicles like the Bradley, the French VAB armored personnel carrier, and all M113 mods, A1, A2, and A3. Currently, we're working on the FV432, a British vehicle.
I'm sitting in the FV432 or the British Bulldog APC. It has been around since the 60s, but we were told that this particular one was made in the 80s. Obviously, when it was produced, there was no concerns about a small FPV drone that can carry an RPG shell, so the armor on it is quite thin. Because of that, the guys from the facility had to cover almost all of the surface of the vehicle with a special anti-drone armor to protect the crew right here inside of the vehicle.
This mesh system is called anti-drone armor. When a drone drops an explosive payload, most of the energy is absorbed by the mesh rather than reaching the vehicle's armor directly. The protection system dissipates the blast force, keeping the vehicle intact. This is crucial for the crew inside. From the feedback we've received from soldiers on the front lines, it's clear that modern warfare has changed drastically. These vehicles were not originally designed to withstand attacks from above, especially from FPV drones. For example, even the Abrams has relatively thin top armor. While this wasn't a design flaw in its original purpose, in today's combat environment, it has become a vulnerability. That's why we focus on reinforcing the weak points identified by the soldiers themselves. We received a message from one brigade operating T-72s. They actually sent us an audio recording to thank us. 3 tanks had been hit, but the anti-drone protection saved the crews. We also had similar feedback from a brigade using Abrams tanks, where our protection repeatedly helped shield them from FPV drone attacks. Now, with fiber-optic controlled FPV drones becoming more common, this protection, when combined with dynamic armor, is proving to be even more effective. We are proud to contribute in any way we can from the home front. This is our way of helping the soldiers in the front lines.
Introducing Palanita, the first Ukrainian long-range rocket drone. Most of its technical characteristics are classified to avoid revealing capabilities to the enemy. However, we have learned a few details. 24 Russian military airfields are within its strike range. The production team consists of specialists from various fields, including people who had never worked with defense technologies, but due to enemy aggression, took up the development of Palanita. The work involved 2 aspects unusual for military industry. The first is the pace. It was developed in just a year and a half. To achieve this, the team worked without days off or vacations throughout the whole period. Their motivation was solid. The longer the delay, the more peaceful Ukrainians die. The second aspect is that the developers did not consider the project's profitability, which is common in the defense sector. Their only priorities are reliability and effectiveness. The structural features are classified. Well, almost. The Palanita will be launched from a ground platform. It uses a turbojet engine. It is equipped with electronic countermeasures. The rocket drone is connected to a satellite and therefore knows its exact location. If the connection is lost, there are other systems to keep it on the required trajectory. And what about the price and number of rocket drones? Modern systems cost millions of dollars per launch. Here, the cost is much lower than its counterparts. Moreover, the work on cutting the cost and increasing production is ongoing. Why is this so important? In the 2.5 years of full-scale war, Russia has launched over 43,000 various types of missiles and glide bombs at Ukraine, so Ukraine is looking for its own response. Real Russian air bases catch fire from Ukrainian drone raids more and more often. Just on the night of August 14th, military airfields Halina, Savasleika, Borisogledsk, and Baltimore were hit. On August 21st, a radio reconnaissance center and an airport near Moscow, as well as the Millerovo air base. News of drone attacks on Russia is now almost daily. Sounds good, but rocket drones are better. They fly faster and carry a larger warhead. So Russian airfields, be ready. The goal of the Palanita is to destroy the enemy's offensive potential, and to do it on their territory.
A few thousand kilometers from the front line, this is where everything starts. We're in a secret location where they build and produce the drones that they're going to send on the front line.
This is where the Ukrainian company Skyfall produces a massive amount of the feared Vampire drones daily. Nicknamed Baba Yaga by the Russians, those huge drones can take up to 15 kilos of explosive charges behind enemy lines. For safety reasons, we must cover the faces of employees working here.
Only at this facility, we produce thousands of bombers per month. And if we are talking about FPVs, we produce hundreds of thousands per month.
The drones are assembled and tested here before being sent on the battlefield. We can't show all the steps of the production in detail to preserve the company's sensitive tech. The Vampire stands out for its size and its capacity to deliver 4 explosive charges at once. But this must be tested first, and this is the stand where one of the workers puts fake charges to check if the system works. The other perk of the Vampire is this device on top to bypass Russian jamming.
We can't reveal actually the details for the technical solutions, because this is our own development and production for the signal system. It can be switching between different frequencies, trying to figure out the best solution even without the pilot. So this is the stuff that is smarter than me, I think.
When we walk around, we're surrounded by security guys. This is how secret this place is.
Last week, we were on the front line near Luhansk, where pilots showed us how they best use the state-of-the-art FPV drones produced on this site to counter Russian electronic warfare.
We also have a turning point at Ukrainian, and I hope for the world, battlefield, Shrike 10 CV with computer vision feature that enables the pilot to log the target, and even being fully jammed and spoofed, the drone will hit the target successfully despite the strong wind, severe weather conditions, and so on. This solution has been already tested at the battlefield. We got positive feedback. One camera is to detect the moving vehicle, for example, or the target to strike at. And another camera is to give the pilot the picture actually what to lock. The pilot sees the target, for example, even that can be 1 kilometer far away.
In this section, we are testing the power of the video signal. This is a very important component, so that the drone operator can correctly see the image from the camera over a certain distance on the front.
The company is also working on a model of Shrike waterproof drones that take off directly from the water, opening a whole new range of tactics against the Russians.
Today they can produce 4,000 per day. They're also expanding capacities, but the point is that it means that they can produce millions per year. So every piece of FPVs that are going to be sent on the battlefield are literally printed here on these 350 3D printers.
Those pieces are then brought to other rooms where hundreds of employees assemble them into FPV drones almost ready for battle, if they pass the test.
How long does it take to build one frame?
Every 23 seconds on this facility we have already one drone. So the question is, in the supply chain for spare parts and components, we can be waiting for a long time for the camera or motor rotary, but then just assemble it with the seconds.
As the full-scale invasion drags on, Ukraine must increasingly rely on its domestic drone production to tip the scales of the war in its favor. Such factories, now able to produce up to 5 million drones in a year nationwide, are the backbone of Ukraine's fight for victory. And the faster the production, the closer the victory for Ukraine.
We're today here with a Ukrainian company called Ptashka Systems, who have developed different ways to counter FPV drones. One is this, it's a handheld web gun, which basically works like a normal pistol, even though it's 3D printed. It looks like half a Glock. Then we have these two drones. One is an FPV, the other is a Mavic. Both are fitted with the same kind of charge, which also just when you detonate it, releases a web, which can either shoot forward or down like a parachute. And it sounds really simple. It actually is really simple, but effective. And today we're going to ask the guys what was their idea, how did they develop it, and we're going to test it live in action, and we're going to show you how to shoot down an FPV drone.
FPV drones come in different shapes and sizes. The most modern can reach well over 100 kilometers per hour and carry up to 5 kilograms of explosives. To counter this threat from the sky, the developers decided to go back to the roots. What is this?
This is a handheld system for countering UAVs. The basic system is a plastic pistol on which you can screw this metal gas distribution system where the cartridge is inserted. It is cocked with one hand and pointed towards the drone. We wait for the drone to approach at a distance of about 30 to 40 meters and fire the shot.
How big is the net that it shoots?
This particular model uses a 4x4 meter grid, which is 16 square meters. After the shot, we unscrew, throw it away, and replace the cartridge. In about 20 to 30 seconds, we are ready to shoot.
This thing, officially it's not a weapon. It can be...
When we started developing, we wanted to create something that was not officially a weapon. Every person who is close to the contact line should have some kind of protection. If a person has the opportunity, they can buy our product. If you see it at about 100 meters, prepare. Be ready to fire at 35 to 40 meters. Aim and take the shot. But take into account that the drone can maybe still fall forward up to 15 meters. So after the shot, don't wait around. Move away and take cover.
You aim exactly at the drone or a bit above?
A little bit higher. It depends on the wind and the flight path. Usually, it's somewhere around 1 to 2 meters higher because the drone flies a curve and will then fall.
Sounds simple enough. Let's see.
Трішки вище пройшла.
I got it! Nice! Wow, you can see it here. It got completely caught in the hooks. And I'm pretty sure the pilot was taking it easy with me because he was flying quite slow. These things can be fast. But yeah, I mean, this can save your life. And with something so simple like a net.
For anyone on the ground, handheld anti-drone systems are growing more popular in Ukraine. But the first place to stop a drone is in the sky. Both standard FPVs as well as Mavics can be fitted with a similar charge. A specially produced blank cartridge provides the necessary power to eject the web.
Okay, so it's, as you said, so this thing it's built that you can just, It has everything you need. You can reload it really fast. You just stick the sticks in, you take out the petrol and you fall. It's not meant to shoot horizontally. You can though to 7-8 meters. It's meant to kind of drop, and after 4 meters it will expand to its maximum, and it's like a parachute. You drop it on another drone. Right?
If you have a skilled pilot, it's an efficient tool to save lives. Right now, Ptashka Systems is in the process of patenting its invention. As soon as that is done, they plan to sell their product internationally. Until then, their anti-drone system is in use in Ukraine, where it is already on the front line, saving the lives of Ukrainian soldiers, one drone at a time.
Mothership drones, AI drones, vertical takeoff and landing, all being engineered in back rooms by teams of international volunteers who say this is the path to victory. We're here with the Special Operations Forces who are working with international volunteers to create new types of drones, not just your standard FPV drones that we've seen, but new advanced models using different types of functions, even things like AI. And they've agreed to let us inside and show us a little bit of what they've been working on. Lewis and Tariq are both in their 20s. They've come from Ireland and the United States to help Ukraine and are preparing to show us a vertical takeoff and landing mothership drone. A vertical takeoff and landing drone, sometimes called by its acronym VTOL, takes off and lands vertically, like a helicopter. Its fixed-wing structure, however, gives it all the aerial benefits of an airplane, but without the need for a runway.
This drone could act as a mothership. Essentially, you put smaller quadcopters on it, you fly it out, and then you can drop the quadcopters when you're far distance. And in that setup, in that configuration, if you're using it as a sort of mothership, you would also have a repeater on there so that the signal is sent from your ground station to the VTOL plane, and then it's sent from the VTOL plane onto the smaller quad drones that are launching off of it. It would give us more range, which means that the drone operators can either be farther from the front line and, have increased survivability, or we can continue to operate close and strike targets farther behind enemy lines.
The job of a drone operator is dangerous. Positions are often targeted. The further operators can be from the front line, the higher their chances of survival.
The plane itself could be 10 to 15 kilometers from the ground station, and the drones could fly another 10 to 15 kilometers from the plane, so we're talking 20 to 30 kilometers total range.
How far close are you from something like this working? Are we talking days, weeks, months?
I think in the next week or two we can get the plane fully flying, and then it would be another week or two to integrate a dropping mechanism.
Dropping mechanisms are what turn these flying toys into flying killers. 3D printers are used by engineers to create the mechanisms that will hold or release explosives from the drone onto the battlefield. The engineering of vertical takeoff and landing drones comes with a unique set of challenges. It's not just about getting the drone to fly, but also figuring out how to produce it on a large scale.
Almost no one in Ukraine is engaged in the development of VTOLs, as it takes a lot of time and requires a lot of resources, including knowledge and time. But with vertical takeoff and landing mother drones, we can fly much further and transmit signals much further. We can increase our distance 3 or 4 times.
Here in the workshop, they're developing something that could reshape the future of drone warfare. AI-powered drones, designed to replace human operators with artificial intelligence.
It will definitely be only a matter of time when we will use all drones on AI or in semi-automated mode, when part of the work is done by the operator and the other part is done by artificial intelligence. Right now, drone jammers are a big problem, preventing us from attacking the enemy. But artificial intelligence brings the drone to the target and attacks it without relying on a signal that can be jammed. These fiber optic wired FPV drones are used on the sections of the front line that are guarded the most by electronic warfare systems, which means you don't have any issues when the radio signal cannot penetrate thick walls or reach over the hills.
All of these strikes were conducted in different locations of the front line, but connected by new technology.
Among the whole Russian convoy, which consisted of 17 armored vehicles, we took down 13. One BMD-2 was blown up by a fiber optic guided drone specifically.
Now we're going to shed light on fiber optic wired FPVs and how they differ from standard radio-controlled drones.
Here we have an empty slot that is usually soldered with a VTX, which is a video transmitter in radio-controlled FPV drones, while the fiber optic cable is called inside the reel that unfolds as the drone flies towards its target. Here we have a media converter soldered directly onto the flight controller, and it allows us to transmit both the radio and video signals using a single fiber optic cable. The fiber optic control system doesn't care about radio jamming or interference.
And while the system already proved itself effective in the skies, it's now spreading on the ground, with unmanned ground vehicles also being controlled through fiber optic, which means less threats to Ukrainian soldiers and more pressure on the Russian troops.
Here, we have installed a simple reel from an FPV drone and a media converter. We have a big advantage compared to fiber optic drones, since we are not constrained by the weight of the reel. We could, theoretically, coil a 50 to 60 kilometer long fiber optic cable here, and that would be that.
The soldiers are hopeful. This is just the start of a technological shift in the war.
Right now, enemy forces use electronic reconnaissance and warfare to interfere with our radio signals. Russia quite aptly implements new solutions and disrupts our flights. Fiber optic guided innovations will in part shake up the situation on the battlefield.
This used to be the job of a Ukrainian soldier, laying mines by hand with a constant risk of being killed by the enemy. Now it's done by a Termit unmanned ground vehicle. This ground drone saves lives every day.
This control up and down, another one left and right.
Okay, so it's quite simple. And that's good because this year the Ukrainian government ordered 2,000 Termit drones and 10,000 ground drones, which means a lot of guys on the front lines are going to need to learn how to use these, so it's good that they're actually quite simple to navigate. Established in 2024, Termit ground drones connect to command and control via Starlink, allowing them to be operated from thousands of miles away. But under real battlefield conditions, it's typically controlled from a distance of 20 to 40 kilometers. At the time of this report, 1,000 of these drones are in use on Ukraine's front lines. In a single day, one Termit can transport up to 1 ton of equipment. Until now, ground drones have been used primarily for laying mines, delivering supplies, and even evacuating dead or wounded soldiers. But that's beginning to change. They're now being adapted for a new role on the battlefield. That's how it used to be shot down. A man with a gun is who used to shoot down that drone, but now it's done just like as you saw then, with one of these ground drones. Before, the risk would be giving away your position, and now we can see it's all done hands-free.
It strikes aerial and ground targets remotely. That is, with Starlinks or some other form of communication, everything can be done from a protected location, without exposing personnel to danger. The future lies in technology, and from what I see today, all progress is moving toward autonomy. That means, first and foremost, all these unmanned ground combat systems will become intelligent, autonomous, capable of making automatic decisions to fire, and so on. In other words, soon it will be a fight between robots, not human versus human. For young people it will be a bit easier, because today it's very similar to computer games, almost identical. That is, if you give it to someone and they don't know it's a real turret, they might think it's actually some kind of computer game.
But incorporating this new technology on the battlefield isn't without its challenges. The average Ukrainian soldier is around 40 years old. And as they say, it's not easy to teach an old dog new tricks. Meanwhile, many of the younger soldiers are still focused on aerial drones.
I've tried flying FPV drones a bit. You need to get used to it and have a good controller. When I joined the military, there was no such thing. Not even the word drones or ground drones. None of that. But when the full-scale war began, the technology slowly started to emerge and develop.
Drone technology is evolving sometimes faster than manufacturers like Termit can keep up. Ground drones are being put to the test in real time on Ukraine's battlefields.
We try to stay in constant contact with the military, receiving continuous feedback from the battlefield, which allows us to respond to certain situations quite quickly and adapt to them just as fast. I believe that the company are not the ones who create and improve the product. Rather, the ones who use it do. In one of the units, over the past 2 weeks, they managed to evacuate 10 wounded and 10 killed. That's quite a decent result. If we translate this into numbers and look at the statistics, one drone can carry up to a ton of cargo. To do the same using human resources, we would need to involve around 30 servicemen.
Буде потрібно залучити порядка 30 військовослужбовців.
The possibilities are endless for how ground drones will continue to evolve on the battlefield. But Alexei believes the true potential of this technology goes far beyond war. Like many innovations born in conflict, these machines could one day transform civilian life.
We hope that the war will end soon with Ukraine's victory, and that we'll be able to use these machines in civilian life, in construction, in agriculture, for evacuation in the mountains, and for demining areas that were previously mined on Ukrainian territory. Our goal is to make sure they help not only on the battlefield, but also in civilian life.
The situation on the battlefield is constantly changing, so Ukrainian developers must continuously adapt their technology to meet the new challenges. Thank you for watching, subscribe to the channel to receive even more thrilling content.